Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Baez. I am the facility director here at Google. I have been a member of IFMA for over 20 years, and I have been a part of leadership roles within IFMA, inclusive of committee and chairs of different councils and committees, as well as sat on the global board of IFMA. I am the current vice president of the IFMA Silicon Valley chapter. When I started my journey, I started it in environmental health and safety. My first job was working as an environmental researcher for the EPA in Region 2 in New York. And I was assigned to an area with a different firm that was having some challenges meeting its operational targets from an environmental perspective. And the entity said, hey, you know how to work so well with all of the operations in our spaces. Would you ever be interested in doing this as a profession? Had no idea what FM was and said, oh my gosh, I'd love it. I'd love to be able to influence how we operate the spaces to ensure that we're meeting environmental compliance targets. So I became an FM by trial by fire and worked in highly regulated spaces in the first part of my career, and realized very quickly that having the FMP allowed me to be able to speak about our profession in a way that met our executive leadership's understanding of how the value of FM could be translated in the things that I did. Since I was in such a high regulatory environment, I researched the SFP and said, my gosh, this sounds phenomenal, as my company is interested in going to meet some sustainable targets, but they have no idea where to begin. They hear about it. There's a ton of different options out there in the world. And they said, we just want a very practical approach of how to provide some small wins in this area and get a good baseline on how we're performing. So I was able to obtain my SFP, and through understanding practical measures of how to implement sustainable practices in our site, we were able to also save money on our consumption of energy and resources, but also provide an opportunity for people to get engaged and focus on what sustainability is. So we were able to host a few Earth Day fairs and wellness campaigns. And all of that I gained through practical application of being a professional in this space in a sustainable mindset. And for me, it was exciting to understand, to bring analytics into the mix and show that we were able to obtain our first Energy Star rated building in the space that I was fostering at the time as a young FM. It was so thrilling to be able to not only show a compliance target that we were able to exceed, but also that everyone came on the journey with me. And as I matured in my facility professional acumen, I saw that it was time. I had met the requirements to obtain my CFM. And I was able to then take the practical experience I had learned, right, and the baseline requirements of a facility professional and translate them into a certified role. And this was able to help me grow and build more complex and scalable opportunities professionally as I grew in this profession. And I would say all three of them have served me well in being able to display to not only the companies that I serve, but also to the profession at large that I really am a tenured voice in facility management. So it's really exciting to be able to leverage the credentials I've received in that space. In terms specifically of the SFP, a few ways I was able to gain some quick wins. The first was be able to understand a practical approach. I was working self-delivery of my spaces. So working with my technicians and engineers to understand how to manage our controls and mechanisms for everything we serve from a MEP, HVAC, life safety perspective, our core and shell delivery, how we managed all of our waste consumption, for example. Those practical approaches I really got from the materials from the SFP. So I could implement them very quickly, see what worked, see what didn't for our group, and then we could proceed to show some ROI. Secondly, I could take concepts that seemed very foreign to our executive leadership team and bring them down to what, from a practical perspective, we could implement. I think there's a lot of ambiguity sometimes in regards to sustainability and what that resonates for facility professionals, for real estate and workplace services teams, as well as then for C-suites, right? They might want to attain a goal and don't know how to get there. If you don't have a great baseline, how can you know what the goal is? So it was great for me to be able to understand the practical approaches of obtaining a baseline of everything we were delivering in sustainability space, everything from water consumption to waste to energy, and say, okay, let's see where we are today and make that a target for our leadership team. Having then a 5-year plan of being able to move the needle to what our corporate goals were. Having that sense of not only a practical application at the onset, but then also a strategic mindset of building a 5-year plan, I really fostered from my SFP as well. Finally, I would say being able to showcase the value generated from the SFP through attaining different certifications, credentials outside in the marketplace for sustainability was really exciting for my team to manage. Leading in these efforts, being able to translate the value of what that looks like, and shepherding across all the various vendor partner teams and local teams that we were working with was super helpful. Getting the message out there and being able to talk in those terms, I gained a lot of that vocabulary and vernacular from the SFP as well. So those are the few things that I've gained from getting my SFP, and I urge you to do the same. For those of us that are all different levels in our journey in regards to facility management, this credential really helped be able to translate a lot of ethereal concepts into practical application.